Well, we get to celebrate a victory tonight in the first of 3 Hell is Real playoff matchups. So we hope is only 2 now that Cincinnati takes the first one at home 1-0 over the Columbus Crew at TQL Stadium. And, we know our friend Jose loves these 1-goal wins. And so we're going to continue to celebrate these 1-goal wins all the way to MLS Cup starting tonight. So welcome to an immediate post-match reaction show of CST. It was good for them good on Denke for closing out that game so we could get started almost on time tonight with tonight's show. Let's get into it a little bit. My name's Brian, hosting the show tonight here with 3 other co-hosts. Coach, we're going to start with you, man. How are you feeling after that game tonight?
I'm feeling good. You never know when you schedule a live reaction pod after if you're going to come in and have to be like stealing your nerves to like try not to just completely crap all over the team. So getting a win, hey, I will take it, especially in the playoffs. Like this one's for Jose. This is where 1-goal wins. Like we'll take it all day, every day.
Absolutely. And I know you weren't even home watching the game, right? You like had to hustle across town or something to get back home for this show.
Uphills both ways.
Yeah, and barefoot. Thanks for being here. Thanks for making that effort. And Josh Dye joining us again tonight. How you doing, man?
Oh, I feel so good. So much vindication for all of the boogeyman talk, all of the things. We'll get into more of it later, but never in doubt. It feels good. Vindication all around. Loving it.
Well, glad to have you, man, joining us tonight. And Justin Blair, unbanned again from the show. Welcome back. How are you?
That's right, man. I'm gonna make it a streak. But I'm gonna jump in with this and share this. Jose is joining us live from the First Financial Club. Talk about dedication. Love it.
Fancy. Jose, how was that? Join us in the chat if you're still there. How was that 1-goal win? How are your nerves feeling after all of that late in the game? The 78th minute, I believe, right? Kevin Denke puts one in finally. So
I just want to know if his wife is going to drive him home tonight, because I know Jose gets into it.
If his blood pressure medication is anything like mine, which is just 9% ABV beers, then hopefully his wife's driving him home.
Hopefully, yes. Be smart.
Maybe just an Uber. Maybe just get an Uber home tonight. Hey, we're going to jump into our best and worst because we got a lot of hot takes tonight, things that we saw and things that we've heard from friends, texting back and forth, things we've seen on social media, some hot takes we want to talk about and address, but we're going to start with our best and worst as we always do. And Justin, I'm going to let you kick us off, man.
Yeah, my best is for the conversation. I mean, deservingly so, but the conversation around the time that this game was kicked off at 6:45 on a Monday, TQL was packed and popping, man. That TIFO was incredible. I obviously watched it from home, but you could tell through the TV screen that place was bananas. And especially when the goal finally came, I mean, the place erupted. So good on everybody at all the FCC faithful, the orange and blue, showing up and showing out. My worst, I had to change my clothes last second because I was wearing, for those that watched the game at home, I was wearing the same thing that Kaylin Kyle was wearing. So I just had to switch that out at the last second. No, seriously,
you don't have a like who wore it better episode like side by side for us that
you might be able to see that on the Patreon. I might be willing to put that up on the Patreon page. No, seriously, it's pretty cool watching games at home. So you get to see some of that. You get to see some biases from some of the staff at Apple TV, but it's still a fun game to watch at home.
We're going to cut in. We've got a guest joining us live from TQL Stadium. Jose, how are you, man?
Hey.
Can we hear you?
The best I can do here, guys. I don't even know if you can hear me.
We got you, man. What was the atmosphere like in the stadium tonight?
Hey.
Can you hear us, Jose?
Yeah, Yeah, I can. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah,
How
we
was
can
the
hear
what
you.
was the atmosphere like in the stadium tonight?
Well, the atmosphere was phenomenal, but as I said in the chat, things were very nervy there towards the end. And after the goal, everything calmed down.
But it was only one goal, Jose.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, towards the end, everything was very nervy around me. I mean, we were all nervous. Is this going to happen? And what's going to happen? We got to go to PKs. Once the goal happened, okay, we relaxed a little bit, but typical of this team, they took us down to the last second.
Wouldn't have hoped for anything better, Jose. Wouldn't
Oh,
hope
yeah.
for anything better.
I mean,
So,
this is what the team does, right? This is what
That's-
we've been doing all year long. Nervy wins. And as I said, I'll take the 3 points. I mean, that's fine. But we did miss several opportunities there. And
we did.
there were some hiccups in the back line that, better team would have pounced on them. So Noonan's got a little bit of work to do, but hey, it's a hell is real win. Take the 3 points. As I message my wife, she's not with me. We finally beat these guys in a game that mattered here at home, for God's sakes. Now, of course, we got to go up there, see how that works.
That's right. That's right. Well, Jose, thanks for joining us here for
Hey,
just
no,
a few
thank
minutes,
you,
man.
guys.
Have a safe trip home.
Hey, you bet. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Jose,
Love
boots on the
that.
ground from First Financial there at TQL. Yeah, wife's not there to get him home. So, as we talked about a little bit earlier. So, Josh, we'll get you best and worst.
Yeah, I'll take. Before I get into mine, Justin, I do want to applaud yours. That playoff environment. I know there was a lot of chatter when the schedule came out about how the Monday night, midday, people got to get off of work, whatever, try to rush to the stadium, blah blah blah. This is awful. This is a catastrophe. Again, shout outs to the whole crowd there. You guys proved everything wrong. It does not matter when you schedule this team. That city is going to show up and support this team. So again, also shout out to the Forge. Again, if you don't know, the Forge is the group that handles a lot of the TIFO painting and handling all that stuff. They are the best in this business. I'm incredibly biased when I say it, obviously, but I think the facts stay for themselves that every time a TIFO thing shows up, they crush it, and it's such a spectacle and such a showcase for this league of like, this is what community soccer can look like when everyone rallies around it. So, I mean, again, the TIFO work was awesome. Shout out to everybody. My best was winning the first one. Like, I know that's cliche and I know it's so simple, but like, everyone hates the best of 3. I get it, but it's like, this is what we have to do. And winning the first game takes off so much extra pressure going forward. Obviously, you don't want to go into game 2 being like, okay, well, we can throw this one away. But in the reality is, if things in game 2 go screwy, you have game 3 in your back pocket. Like, you don't have to play inch perfect soccer in game 2 to keep your season alive, to keep everything going. So it's like the weight off of your shoulders, off of everyone's shoulders. You can almost go into game 2 more relaxed, play free. You don't have to play tight, knowing that you aren't the ones under the pressure. Columbus is. They have to win in their home to keep their season alive. You have the freedom now to go in there and steal everything. So, love getting the first one.
Josh, let me throw this comment in here about the TIFO. It said even Alex is in there saying even crew fans were talking about how good the TIFO was. So kudos to the Forge for your work and all of that. It was beautiful. I saw it just for a split second on TV. I'm sure I'll see photos later, but it was a beautiful TIFO.
Oh yeah, and there's all kinds. And honestly, shout out to everyone in the community too. I know all of these TIFOs are painted by the community. I mean, those are a lot of work goes into those, and a lot of people always show up for them. So I'm always jealous that I can't, obviously can't be there. I don't live in the state and the city and everything, but you guys always turn out, and it's incredible. So. Yeah. My worst is still leaving chances out in the field. Obviously, we saw a handful of opportunities yet again go awry. Whether it's missing the clinical pass at the final third, a couple couple crossed balls that didn't quite find the feet. Obviously, Denke an inch away. If his studs were like a half an inch longer, it's probably a goal. But still, that's one of those that you can't leave those kinds of opportunities going. And Guidi had a hard hit, but pick it an inch to the left or the right, it's a goal. But a lot of chances just still left on the table that obviously didn't matter today, but that's been a theme this season of just missing the final touch, and you kind of want to see those start to go in there. So I'll take the win, but still want to see those clinical finishes.
Yeah, no doubt. Coach, best and worst.
Man, I'm calling audible. My best was going to be generating cutback chances because we're finally getting into those cutback zones and putting the ball across. But my best, I'm going to pivot and say it's got to be the fans, because I wasn't there, but the environment looked awesome. And I'm seeing these numbers, live viewers right now climbing. We're at 195, which I think has to be some sort of a record. And it's just going up. When I first started thinking I'm going to do that as my best, it was at like 172. Now we're at 197. See, this could be like a ticker, like a call-in show.
Heck yeah, man.
I mean, you all are awesome. It is so great. I didn't get to go to the match because, situations, and I feel like I definitely missed out because you guys are so good. I'm so grateful that we live in this city with these kind of fans. My worst is going to be having to watch Diogo Rossi cry at the ref all game long. The first time he got fouled in the 17th minute, he held up 4 fingers to the ref like, that's 4 fouls. I'm like, I've been watching, bro. You've only been fouled 4 times. You are one time. And I guess he's just saying 4 total fouls. And then if you watch, every time there was a crew set piece, Rossi is talking to the ref, and you can tell he's asking for red cards, yellow cards. It's just like, be professional, play the game, and quit crying. If you go out and beat FC Cincinnati because you're the better team or because they cramp up or whatever, like, congrats to you. If you beat them because you cried enough and got the yellow card, like, who wants to win that way? Well, apparently Diego does.
Yeah, man. We lived through those years with another number 10 on our side for a while, and it was fine when he was with us, but when he's on the other team, right, you pick it out a little bit more. I'm going to throw out some best and worst here from the chat, since we have so many people. We're up to 210 people tonight. This is awesome. Thanks for joining us. If you have best and worst, if you got questions, if you got comments, put them in the chat. We would love to talk about them tonight. And all tonight is just a reaction show. Like, what did we see? What did you see? Man of the match performances, that sort of thing. So drop them in the chat. We'll get to them. We've got best and worst here. Best is Pal Celentano, winning important games never gets boring. From Mikkel Vandenheuvel. I think I butchered that, but thanks for joining us tonight with that. We've got best Ender. That man was everywhere. Worst was finishing, that from Sweet B Bray. We've got best Alvis Powell. We got a lot of those tonight. Lots of good stuff here in the chat. This is great. I'm going to jump into my best and worst here. That's going to be my best is just these 1-goal wins that are unsustainable, that we're continuing to sustain. Like, I don't love 1-goal wins. I wish we'd get more, but man, this team knows how to do it. It is their identity. We've talked about that all season long. And I would much prefer a 1-0 win over Columbus than going up 2 goals and drawing with them 2-2 or losing 4-2 or whatever it has been in years past. So that's my best. Just this team, the way they gutted out and finished these 1-goal wins. My worst is we're probably going to win this in Columbus. Like, I think that's great, but I wish we would have wanted a TQL stadium, man. And there's still a chance, but I don't want it to come down to that chance. I want to win it in Columbus, and I hate that I want to win in Columbus. Win the series in Columbus, but hey, I guess we'll have to do it. Let's get into some post-match reactions beyond our best and worst. There was a lot happening on the field. There were a lot of hot takes, and if you have a hot take, drop it in the chat as well. We'll get some of those up on the screen and talk about them. But I want to start with man of the match performances from the 4 of us, and then if you have a man of the match in the chat, if you're listening, put it in there, and we'll see who wins the man of the match tonight based on popular vote. So, Josh, I'm going to start with you. Man of the match, man. Who did it?
Man of the match. Well, I'm going to start mine and automatically add 2 votes to it. shout outs because my man of the match is Ender Echenike, because that man was displayed everything that you had hoped he would show when you brought him in here, right? He is pace exuberant beyond anything that you could have hoped. He brings so much energy to that right side, and I think when they brought him in and talked about him immediately, both Pat Noonan and Chris Albright talking about him, transitioning to right wing back, you started to think like, oh, there's a plan for this kid. Oh, they have an idea of how they want to deploy him. And, admittedly, I think we all kind of thought, I definitely thought that it was like, okay, this is a perfect, like, off the bench, he's going to be Sergio Santos off like he was deployed, but he's going to be on the right side. You can bomb balls late, running at tired defenders. But he's really, I mean, from the jump, he's grabbed that starting right wing back job and run with it, and quite literally run with it, because he is him playing off of a Denke hold up play or Evander dropping back in and coming back and letting him run has been such a huge play for this offense to just kind of get some juice, get some things where things are stagnant in the midfield. All of a sudden, you can Miles Robinson can play past the midfield to Denke, and then boom, there goes Ender up the right side, and you're 3 touches away from odd man rushes like we saw tonight. Like, yes, there was some opportunities gone awry, like we talked about earlier, but Ender was so active, and especially, I mean, the goal happened off of that exact kind of motion where you have Evander finding a streaking Ender and Echenike down the right side, and it's a cross and it's a ball and it's a goal. Like, it's everything that you would hope this team was, Coach, like you talked about earlier about those end line, getting to the end line and whipping a ball to the line. This team has missed that kind of pace down this flank for so long, and it's just it's great to see that he's taken that job so quickly. I mean, usually these are the kind of guys that you have to wait a year. These are young guys playing out of their home countries for the first times maybe in their career, and he's just adapted so quickly. And Laurel Failer reporting, Pat Noonan saying Ender just dealing with cramps, no concern of a re-aggravated leg injury. So that's huge. If he's available, again, like I talked about earlier, maybe you don't need to push him to the starting lineup next week. Whatever. We'll see how he progresses. Yeah. But man, the kid's just so exciting to watch.
Let me jump in on that, Brian, because I think that something that goes unappreciated with Ender is his defensive work rate, because he is not a great defender, right? He got dribbled past once, like he kind of is out there doing his best. But if you look like a guy like Orshano last year, who had a really good offensive year, he never put in the defensive work. It was always like, well, you take it because he's so good offensively. Ender is not only constantly a threat in behind there, he is also, there was a play pretty late in the match. It was past the 78th minute, I think, that Ender came screaming back and got a toe on the ball. Was the one where then he chased it to the touchline and almost saved it in, right? It's like those plays are the plays you never got out of Orshano. And that, to me, is what makes him a guy that you can keep throwing out there and be like, hey, he's going to give you so much offensively. And also he's putting in the work. Even if he's not the best at it, like his effort is just top notch.
Yeah. All right. So we got votes for Ender, man of the match. Alex is in here saying Buka was a close second. And Alex, I'm going to tell you why Buka should be the man of the match. I'm going to convince you, because as fast as Ender was, as pacey as he is down the left flank, he drew defenders out there and pushed wide and forced Columbus, Arston specifically, to play a little bit wider and play a little bit tougher. But that ball doesn't get advanced through the midfield without Pavel Buka tonight. Evander was dropping in. We've got Brenner dropping in a little bit to get the ball, but Buka was picking Rossi's pocket all night long. He was coming in from behind, stealing the ball. He's making passes, progressing the ball forward. I don't think we win the midfield as solidly tonight and possession through the midfield as solidly tonight as if Pavel Buka is not out there. He created chances for Brenner right there at the top. The one Brenner cracked off of goalkeeper Schulte. Schulte made a great save, but Pavel Buka created that opportunity for Brenner in a really, really tight space. And he did that for a couple other chances. So Pavel Buka is my man of the match. Maybe it's hard to say, like, he plays so well and everybody knows he plays so well, but so he doesn't like fly under the radar. But when you're surrounded by guys like Brenner and Evander, and you have guys like Ender having the games that they do, he maybe doesn't get as much attention as he should. And I think Pavel Buka, for me, made this game what it was.
He's the new Obi of like a couple years ago, where it was like the analysts and everybody who like watched who watched the game in depthly and knew about it was like, oh, that's the linchpin guy. That's the guy he's not talked about by, because he's not scoring the goals and the assists or whatever, but everybody knows that that's the engine of the midfield. Like, that's just Buka now. Like, Buka has just taken that spot of like, he's the guy that, like you said, he's not going to pop up on the stat sheet all the time, but everything runs through Pavel Buka in the midfield.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I do want to shout this out, Michael. Thank you for your grace, me butchering your name and then coming back and saying, it happens all the time. I appreciate that. Thank you, Michael, for that. Coach, man of the match.
Yeah, first of all, just because I did it with Ender, I'm going to jump in on Buka really quick too.
Yeah.
He is so good at releasing into space at the right point. It's not even just his on-ball work. Like, if you watch him, he checks back to be that pivot point for a center back, and he recognizes the exact moment to release in behind that second wave of pressure and receive that ball up the seam. That's what created the play where Max Arfson got the yellow card, is him just sensing when to release. And the best part about it is he actually can get better, because by his standards, Rupesh said Buka's standard is so high that it is Buka's standard so high that it's hard to appreciate him. I think, yeah, because by his standards, he actually didn't have a great game. He might have been man of the match and also had like a 23% possession loss ratio or something, which is way high for him, and had a couple plays where he had some bad turnovers. So yeah, he could actually get there, but I agree he played well. So now I will give you guys the right answer, since both of you were wrong before. I'm just kidding. There's so many good candidates, but I am going to go with Roman Celentano, which is weird for me. I normally would not pick the goalkeeper. But I thought not only did he make 3 huge saves in the game, but they were at times in the match where FC Cincinnati was either under a ton of pressure, or it was like, if Columbus scores there, how the game is so different. And I'm going to highlight one. In the 48th minute, he made a save on Herrera, who got in behind. And that one right there, right out of halftime, I feel like if Columbus scores that goal, it is like probably curtains, coming out of half like that. So I just have to give it to Roman. I just thought not only was he pretty flawless, he had a couple moments that were shaky in possession, but that's the Roman experience. So, I'll go out of my my comfort zone here and give it to a goalkeeper. Do we even need goalkeepers on the pitch, guys? Can't we just play with center backs and center defensive midfielders?
Them's fighting words, Coach.
Hey, now.
Them's fighting words.
You got 2 members of the goalkeeper union here representing. You can't. Hey, now.
I said it just for you.
And you know what, Coach? Since you've been doing it, I'll go ahead and jump in based on this Roman Celentano note of like, yes, to your point, like, this is a classic goalkeeper game of like, you almost get lulled to sleep in the first half, where there's nothing happening in front of you. You got a couple of moments where you're active, but it's like a lesser goalkeeper will let that first moment go in, to your point, like 48-minute right out the break. And really the second half was them. Columbus came out hot. Like, that was their game. That was their their stretch of time where it was, if Roman Celentano is lapsed at all, that, to your point, that this is game on. This is maybe you're fighting for your life at the end there. But I give huge amounts of credits to Roman Celentano and for the coaching staff to keeping him level-headed and in the game at that point, because it's so easy to kind of just forget almost that, like, oh crap, yes, this game is like, this game hasn't been happening at me. Now it is a lot all at one time. And, shout out to him and the coaching staff for making sure he was up to the task.
Yeah. All right. So we've got Roman Celentano, we've got Buka, we've got Ender Echenike. Justin, you got to help Money Gigs 2026 make up their mind, because they keep changing it here in the chat. Who are you going with, man of the match?
I could go with the goal scorer, Kevin Dinke, but I'm going with Alvis Powell. Alvis Powell brought that extra bit of energy. I don't think that Kubo, no disrespect to him and his game, but I just don't think he had his stuff tonight. I think he was kind of lost, very disruptive when we were progressing the ball up the field. And when Powell came on and Powell went off left, I was like, what are we doing? and Powell does what Powell does, man. He's got like a one-track mind nowadays.
Mhm.
And I love to watch that. Like, he is one of the most aggressive wingbacks that we've ever had, and we've had a ton of I mean, Joe Jao, Avriel Bariel, where Powell is a racehorse, and he's the one that created the goal for Kevin Dinke, right? If he doesn't get there to that far post and redirect the ball back in front of frame, then there is no goal. And then the just chippiness, you love to see that in a Hell is Real match. Powell not taking crap from anybody. I know Mo Farsi was probably shaking at the knees a little bit whenever he saw Powell line up opposite of him. So I love what Alves has, and man, we need to get him a goal. Like, everybody's talking about
Kai Kamara.
Yeah, everybody's
Kai
talking Kai
Kamara
Kamara goal. I want Alves to get a goal before he.
I want to
Listen,
jump in.
No, I
jump in
got
again.
I'm going to jump in too.
You can jump in, but I got to say, if that Joe Jao comment on this podcast doesn't push us over 300 viewers live tonight, I don't know what's going to. So
I also like Joe Jao was the first name he pulled, and then Alvaro Barrial was second. It was like Joe Jao first, obviously, and then who was the other guy? Alvaro or
I don't know if you remember 2020. Those were tough times.
Blacked out most of 2019, 2020, 2021. So
we're getting close, Coach. We're at 291 with that Joe Jao comment. 292. Bring it home, man.
Man,
what do you want to say?
There was
with
a
this
play
comment?
that sums up the Alvis Powell experience for me and how much I love him. It was in the second half stoppage time when Ibrahim Aliyu tried to touch the ball by him and go. And Alvis Powell, he was like 8 or 10 yards from the touch line, but he recognized how heavy the touch was, and he shielded the ball, took a lot of contact, and then acted like he was going to boot it out. So Aliyu like bailed, and then he just let it roll out. And I was like, that is a veteran. And if you think about how much he has grown from the times he was playing along with Joe Chow and Matthew Duplan, right? Like, it's just incredible. I love me some Alvis Powell.
Yeah. All right. Hey, we've got some hot takes that I know some of us have seen, heard social media wise. We got a few in the chat tonight. Beyond the man of the match, which obviously is Pavel Buka, I win. Thank you very much on that one. 301. Look at it. Joe Jao brings it to 301 tonight. 302. Anyway, we're going to stop talking about how many people are watching because we got a whole match to talk about. There were some comments about a player that we have not talked about yet in Samuel Guidi and his play tonight, which I've got my thoughts, my opinions, which we'll get to in a minute, but I want to throw that name out to you guys and get your hot take on Samuel Guidi and his play tonight against the Crew. Josh?
He has stolen Obina Wodobodo's job. Like,
Ooh.
that's Guidi's job now. Like, you can't, like, I understand that Obi is everything that we love Obi. He's a hero in this town for what he has done for this team so far. I think when you can entrust a kid that young to come in and stabilize a midfield next to Pavel Buka, who we've talked about is arguably man of the match, arguably. But when you can insert a kid that young, again, like we've talked about, this is a U22 kid. This is a kid playing in a league that he's in a country that he's no idea what to expect, anything, and he's hit the ground running, and they're entrusting him to start game one against your biggest rival in arguably the biggest matchup in the entire league so far, and this kid gets the start spot. Pat Noonan, we've talked about it a lot. Pat Noonan doesn't trust the kids a lot. Well, I think we might be able to throw that narrative out the window because Guidi is getting the start and Pat Noonan trusts him to play in the biggest moments of the season. Mm-hmm. And so I think obviously it helps, with Obi being you have the injury, you don't want to rush him back. But I think I think I haven't seen anything. Again, you have the nervy moments, and I'm sure other guys will talk about this. He has the moments where he looks like a kid who is in a little bit over his head sometimes. But I think you entrust him now going forward for the rest of the season. Him and Buka have built up a good partnership, and he kind of just understands now. So I think this is his job, and I think it should be his job going forward.
Yeah, I think Guidi had a couple of high-profile turnovers, which clouds, I think, some of the view of him. But his possession-loss ratio, so reminder, if you take your touches, the number of times you give the possession away via pass or tackle divided by your touches, that's your possession-loss ratio. It was under 20%. It was better than Pavel Buka. For reference. And I think the Guidi take that he had a bad game. I think what's hardest for me about that one is if you watch how much he does in ball progression, which Obi doesn't do. Guidi to me was just as active as Obi, maybe not quite as good in terms of like winning tackles. You know, I think he was like 3 of 9 or something on ground duels, so not quite as good there. But he does as much ground coverage, but also like there was a play in the 21st minute where he received the ball in the inside from Hadeb and he turned and there was a simple ball out to Hender on the right wing, but Columbus was sitting on that. So he just shifted his hips a little bit and then played Buka up the seam, which allowed Buka to then get out in transition. And it's like plays like that Anunga and Obi never make. They're always passing it square or backwards. I thought Guidi was really impressive. And I think Josh Dye's take that he has taken Obi's job, I think it's an excellent take, Josh. Like, I honestly would not be that surprised if next year we're talking about Obi as coming off the bench or maybe if something happens, if Guidi sticks around. I think he's that good. Not taking away from anything from Obi either. Obi is great too, but Guidi adds the Obi ground coverage with the ball progression.
Yeah. Justin, I thought you were avoiding that hot take as you jumped out of the studio for a minute. You didn't want to talk about Samuel Guidi, but now you're back. Give us your take on his play tonight.
Well, I think it's par for the course what we've seen so far with Guidi. I think you guys are hitting the nail on the head. I mean, I think I said it last time I was on the podcast that I believe that he has supplanted Obina Nwobono, and a lot of that's going to come down to money. Guidi's coming in a little bit lower than Obi. So I think that's also going to be a factor when it gets to the end of the season. But I think Guidi's been playing phenomenal. And I think what coach said, his ball progression is what really sells it for me. I think being able to communicate well with Pavel Buka, I think that's something that I think we really needed to stabilize, because I think Anunga and Obi were just kind of lost in space at times.
Yeah. I think, I don't think it's a bad take, Josh. I think I like Samuel Guidi from the moment he stepped on the field and made that first spin move around a defender. And I went, okay, this guy brings something a little bit different than Obi does. And so I do think, he's got the talent to do it. I do love the way he progresses the ball, but there were some moments we talked about, right? Some nervy moments that, a slow pass through the middle that was picked off right through the midfield and puts Miles Robinson now in danger. There wasn't just one of those. There were several of those. I believe Evander got to one of them just in time before it got picked off. But there were a couple of those. He's young. He'll get into it. I honestly thought maybe he would come out at the end of the game because he just looked like he was getting tired. Like he was all out. And so maybe 70th minute, 75th minute, I expected maybe he would, sub off the field because his legs were getting tired. But he played a great game. Aside from those nervy moments there, he played a great game. I'd love to see him start again up in Columbus, but time will tell, right?
I will. Let me jump in there. You guys are the goalkeeper experts over here.
Yeah.
I'm going to speak for a defender. I'd rather put out a fire occasionally than to constantly deal with pressure at your feet all game long. And being able to get the ball out, I weigh heavily. For our 8s and 6s in front of us, I would much rather them progress the ball across midfield and not have to keep dealing with it over and over and over again than to occasionally have to come out and put out a fire.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
Speaking of fire and hot takes, we've got one here. The Dixie chili is the best Cincy chili if you're going canned. Thank you for that, Alex. Jumping in the chat with that one.
Oh boy.
I
bring back some memories that I barely remember.
There was some other comments that I saw about the relationship between Kevin Denke and Brenner out there on the field tonight that just want to get some perspective on. We don't have to go around the horn on this one necessarily, but it looked like there were moments that Denke could have played the ball across, could have hit the ball over the top maybe to Brenner, and had his head down a lot, looking at the ball, trying to create his own shot. He's a creative player. He creates for himself. He's a striker. He's a number 9. He's supposed to do that, right? But you got a guy like Brenner running down the other flank, the other channel there, coming in on the left side, and you don't see him or you don't pass it to him. Again, there were some comments like, are these two not getting along? Is he a selfish player? Like, what's going on? Hot takes on this one, or is this just something that just happens on the field?
I think the play where Brenner tried to play it across for Denke and he didn't tuck it in with a tap in because he slowed his run up expecting Brenner to shoot. I think that says it all. I don't think this is a rift or some like they don't like each other. I think it's Kevin Denke is a striker and he's like, I want to score every time I touch the ball. And then he looks at Brenner. He's like, yeah, that guy wants to do the same. Right. And so I do think it's important that they get on the same page because there were opportunities left on the field because they were not. But I don't think this is a rift or a personality thing. I think this is simple. Like you play with somebody long enough and you don't have to be the main guy, but you have another guy to play off of. You start to learn like, oh, if I actually give that ball up, I'm going to score more goals because they're going to have to worry about both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we saw that moment, and I recall that moment that I think a lot of people will point to of where, you hit a break, and it's Denke and Brenner versus 3 Columbus defenders, and you probably have a step where if Denke hits that early cross, maybe Brenner gets on to the end of it and can put a shot on frame. Instead, Denke pulls up and then looks to create his own shot, and you see the demonstrative Brenner, kind of throw his hands up, do the thing that, a former number 10 used to do on any pass that wasn't towards his direction. But I chalk it up to these are, you guys hit on it. Like these are 2 competitive guys who want to win. Like I don't think we've seen anything from Brenner since his return that suggests that, oh, this is old Brenner. Like this is old Brenner trying to get his numbers because he wants to go to Europe. Like I think we have all kind of seen and it's been established well that like Brenner is here to win. Brenner is here to be selfless, and Brenner's here to do everything he can to win the game. And I go back to, and I think Denke is the same way because I go back to when I'm blanking on who was against, but it was the goal that Brenner scored where Denke runs across the face and clears out 2 defenders, and Evander pricks out Brenner through the seam, and it's just a beautiful executed goal, and none of that happens without Denke recognizing the space, making the selfless run, and then Brenner putting it away. And so it's like, yes, this is a high competitive environment, and I actually love that these 2 guys are so kind of goal hungry and want to see success happen because that's what these guys are here for. These guys are here to win. These guys are here to score goals. And, who knows where their career goes from here if they continue to put that stuff on film where they can make these selfless runs, where they can make these passes and guys, they can set up guys to score goals because they know that their goals are also going to come. So I think there's nothing in it. And I actually kind of love that they're kind of like fiery at each other because they expect more from each other. They expect more, the same amount from everyone around them as they're giving themselves.
Here is the one thing that I think is in it. It's that Brenner, I don't think it's a rift or any like personality clash, but Brenner did get frustrated. And there were times when he dropped deep to get on the ball that then like after he moved the ball long, he did not bust it to get into the box. There was that one where Ender got in and hit the ball all the way across, and Kubo was the only runner in the box, right? If you watch Brenner on that play, he starts that play, and then he does like a semi-hard jog forward, and Evander outruns him to get into the box on that play. And it's like Brenner, I think that's frustration. I think that's, I'm not getting enough touches, so I drop way deep to get the ball, and if I get it, I'm not expecting to get the ball back, so I don't run as hard. And so that's the kind of thing like a wide receiver in the NFL, you have to just, even if you're not getting the ball, you have to expect it every time. And that's the thing that's in it, is Brenner stopped expecting the ball, which I think left some chances on the field.
I'd go the other way, though. I think Brenner played a great game. He did drop to get the ball, and maybe it held him up a little bit. But to be honest, when he's making runs early and not receiving those passes, I don't blame him for getting a little frustrated. Like, you got to keep doing it. On the other hand, like, I look at Kevin Danke, and yes, he goal scorer, game winner, love it, right? He was in the right spot at the right time. But if you watch the one that was played across that he missed because his cleats weren't long enough, right? He hesitated on that run forward. Right. He took like a half step and then he went for it, which I'm demonstrating live. If you're watching, you can't hear that. But there were other times, too, that he'll get on the ball. He always, like, I was watching him clearly because there were times he wasn't making passes that I thought. So I was like zoned in on him when he had the ball. His head was down. He was looking at the defender's feet immediately in front of him and thinking, how could I beat this guy? He wasn't even looking for the pass across the middle, which, again, you want a striker inside the 18 to do. I get that. I'm not dogging him for that. But he wasn't necessarily looking for the ball across to anyone else once he had the ball that close to goal. So that was the kind of the issue I had. And I think it was Twellman on the broadcast even said this, like, Danke wants to hold up play. Like, he wants to receive it back to goal, play off of somebody, make the run. But there were times that if he would have just made the run, like Echenike looked up once, I think Miles Robinson looked up once, and Danke wasn't making the run in behind that long ball with his speed and his power. He could have gotten in, but he stepped up and then came back to the ball. So play style, that's how he does it, right? But if he can shift that a little bit, I think we've got a couple more goals, or we're in a little bit more on Columbus. Coach?
Brian, I agree with you. Like, that's not what I'm saying at all in terms of who played the better game. I think Brenner was better on the night. In fact, I turned to the guy I was watching the game with, my good buddy, and I said, if Kevin Danke does not score in this match, I'm going to be pissed because he's played like crap. The only thing that saves his match for me is a goal. And then he scored. What I'm saying is the thing that is in the disagreement between Danke and Brenner is if Brenner does not get rewarded for those runs he keeps making, then he stops making them. And that's what I think we saw. And that's all I mean is that's the worry you have, is not that they don't like each other, not the godparent of each other's children or like that kind of thing. Like, what we're worried about is that Brenner quits making the run because Danke never gives them the ball. Danke did get the goal, and we have to give credit to him on that goal because it wasn't even just like, oh, he was in the right spot at the right time. There was some of that, but the way he like hesitates to not just blast the shot and sits Schulte down at the goal line and then blasts it in, like that's the like showing that amount of chill in the 6-yard box there, I think was excellent. So both strikers get credit because KD did score, but I do think Brenner had the better overall game in terms of the selfless running.
Yeah. And we have seen, and maybe this is a thing, and this is why it's coming up, and I don't want to dwell on it, but we have seen that other number 10, Lucho Acosta, not pass the ball to players that he didn't trust eventually. I don't think that's what's going on here, and maybe that's not what was going on then, but it sure seemed like it at times then. And so maybe it's just a bit of a hangover from seeing what we've seen in years past. But we've got stellar attacking a trio up top there, and it sounds like we've got, who is it in the chat said that it was funny seeing that Brenner was the least selfish of the attacking three tonight, which is pretty cool. That's a good take there. We saw FC Cincinnati starting the match came out with a really high press and put Columbus under pressure. And they were winning the ball. We've talked about in previous shows, the way they had been pressing in years past, maybe versus this year, was that they would win the ball in higher positions and start the counter in maybe just the front edge of the middle third of the field, like move it into the attacking third pretty quickly. And it seemed that they did that really well for about 15 or 20 minutes tonight. And then they had to sit back a little bit. Columbus had a little bit more possession. Is that something that we liked seeing it, obviously, but is that something that's sustainable for this team, or was it this group of personnel that was out there that was able to, something finally clicked and they were able to press forward a little bit more and more effectively tonight? Justin, you've been quiet for a while. What do you think?
To me, I feel like, Columbus is where they're at for a reason, right? They're 7th in the East. They've struggled this season. They're not able to get things clicking the way Nancy has had this team well oiled. But I think for FC Cincinnati, I think it's not just against Columbus Crew. I think they've had problems doing that with multiple teams, right? Pressing them high and being able to win back that possession and keep the ball on the attacking third all match long. And that's not what we had tonight. We had a lot of, Columbus coming at us at the beginning, like you said, but I think that's a little bit of a product of Columbus being that team that's just not able to sustain those type of runs. They're really good at getting back and setting, but they play the ball short. That's the way Nancy likes to do it. And then once they get the ball in the attacking third, they like to do those big flips. And right now they don't have the players to do that. Rossi is just a one-man band trying to dance around. And Arston, I think it was said on the broadcast as well, was pinned in pretty good by Ender. And that's something that they didn't see in the first matchups. So I think that FC Cincinnati was able to press up high because Columbus could not sustain a coherent attacking front.
I also think that it's a bit of the personnel FC Cincinnati have. What you're seeing now is FC Cincinnati's front three to be able to press like they did back when Obi was a day in and day out starter before his injury. Because when you have a guy covering that much ground, who now his name is Sammy Guidi, right? If you go back and watch some of those pressing moments and watch how high Pavel Buka is pressing into the midfield. He's pressing up on Nagbe even when Nagbe's dropping in between the center backs because he trusts Guidi back there to cover that ground and get a touch and win those balls. And then that allows those center backs to be more aggressive at tracking those runners as they try to drop in and get on the ball. So what you're seeing here, I think, is a lot that the fact that we've missed Obi so badly this season, and finally Sammy Guidi is kind of stepping in and fulfilling some of what Obi can do.
Yeah, we had another hot take or a question. Maybe it was just more of a question than a hot take with Yuya Kubo starting at left wing back here. And Coach, I know you joked a little bit pregame about Kubo moving from striker to midfield now to left wing back, and I bet Nancy didn't see that coming, right? But the pressure that he applied, the quickness in some of those moments to win the ball back as Columbus is knocking it around the back, came out of nowhere. Instead of playing wide like you would expect a left wing back would be outside of that outside back, he stepped in between and took the ball. And if it wasn't for him not being left-footed or naturally right-footed, he would have probably sent the ball back across the middle on that play. So even he provided a different type of pressure, I think, on that left side. Was it consistent? Probably not, but there were moments that I was glad Yuya Kubo was there and not, someone else or Shano or whatever that maybe would have played on the outside of that and played the ball a little bit differently. So any take on Yuya Kubo's play tonight? I know he was in there for quite a while at left wing.
I thought it was bad. I thought it was really bad. I thought he was the most disconnected player on the pitch as far as FC Cincinnati goes. Kubo has, he did this even the previous couple seasons, right? There's certain styles of play that Kubo plays really well in, and whenever we're trying to build and we're having a hard time kind of cracking Columbus, having 6-7 guys in the box, Kubo is just, his touch and his patience is just really, really poor. He's turning the ball over. You see it all the time with Evander yelling at him, and same with when Luca Lucho Acosta played on this team. It's just Kubo, he's been brilliant at times, but I think this one was the one where you saw a lot of cracks in his game. I'm sure somebody can pontificate on that a little bit better than me.
Yeah, I thought it was funny because right when Justin jumped in to say it was bad, I was getting ready to be like, I thought he was great, but not in the actually great. Like, he didn't actually do great things, but I was legit worried about, because what we see from Kubo a fair bit is when he's in positions where he's driving at the defense, he kind of gets the ball stuck under his feet or something, and all of a sudden it's going the other way. And I thought what Kubo did is he played within the framework of the game. It didn't look to me like he really pressed the issue trying to beat players 1v1, trying to fit passes in where he had no business trying to fit them in. And so when I say he played great, I don't mean that he was an above average left wing back out there at all. I just mean he was was league average left wing back. He did not cause problems. I did think there were a few moments when he didn't track back fast enough that like I was yelling at the TV, come on, Yuya. Like if they would have found the guy at the back post, I think he left the team exposed a little bit. And that's a forward converted to a midfielder now playing left wing back, right? Like he's not always in the right position. But outside of that, I thought that he played within the framework of the game and didn't hurt the team, which a guy playing out of position, being asked to step in pretty much so Pat doesn't have to play Dominic Markzuk over there, who he all of a sudden doesn't trust, right? And Luca Orishano coming off an injury. So he is playing out of position. And I thought for that reason, I would give him a B.
What I did like about Kubo playing out there, though, beyond those, streaky moments in a press, right, was his ability at times. Now, Justin just said he wasn't doing it well, but at times he made some brilliant give and go passes, right? Connected with Brenner a couple times, connected with Evander a couple times in a way that, Coach, I think to your point, he played within what he knew he could do. He didn't try and stretch himself too much. He knew I can make this pass. And sometimes the simple ball, the quick ball, the simple ball is the best ball to play. And I think that's what Kubo did well for much of the match tonight. So while he's not man of the match performance, I do think he played solid out there. I was a little nervous, to be honest, with him there and Teenage Hadeb behind him. On that left side, I thought we were just going to get toasted, but without Mo Farsi out there on the right side for Columbus, maybe it was a little bit safer bet putting those two on the left side there. Josh, you had some thoughts on, as we were talking about Evander and his performance tonight. Tell us, there were some other comments in here about maybe he was playing for style points tonight, but he was getting on the ball a lot. I think you were talking about him dropping in a little bit. Talk about Evander's performance a little bit tonight.
Yeah, I think Evander was about as effective as you kind of have come to assume him being when he's not the match winner, right? He was so shuttle tonight. Like he was the shuttle guy tonight. I saw him dropping in a lot to kind of, hey, just get on the ball. There was a couple moments I was watching the game with my brother and he's like, hey, why does 10 not have the ball? Like why don't we get 10 on the ball a little bit more? And I'm like, oh yeah, like he wasn't as active as maybe in the front third as you might expect him to be, but he was there. He was dropping in, getting on the ball, trying to facilitate a little bit. The space, Columbus did a great job of kind of like boxing that middle third in, or that not that space in between the box and the midline. Like they cluttered that a lot and didn't give a ton, which is why I think FC Cincinnati attacked the wings so well and early and often, is because that's kind of felt like what the game plan was, and I think that's why you saw Evander drop in a lot in that. And I'll pivot a little because Evander was good. He wasn't great. He again. It kind of goes back to what Rupesh was saying of like, is Evander's standard so high that even in a game where he was fine, like we think it was a terrible game? It's like the answer was no. Like he did his job well. He kind of had a couple moments, maybe not as many as you would expect a guy who was an MVP finalist to have or to have those critical moments, but he was there. He was active on the ball, and I think he was the perfect shuttle mover today. And I think the bigger concern I have was the connection between him and Brenner and Denke about who's dropping back when and who's going forward when. Because there was so many times where I thought, okay, we got a guy dropping in, whether it's Brenner, Evander, Denke, whatever, and then we spring a counter, and like we talked about earlier, all of a sudden you look up and it's Ender running one side and Kubo running the other side, and there's nobody else there. Like, how is there not a third of one of the attacking three in the odd man rush there? And I think it's just that was kind of an issue for me of like, there was a disconnect about who was supposed to drop. Coach, like you talked about earlier, whether it was Brenner dropping in and doing the dirty work and then not hustling forward to get the run in, or whether it's Denke coming to play the hold up role and then spinning, and then there's no Brenner or no Evander to fill that gap. Like there was just too many moments where I looked up and it's an odd man rush and it's Ender and Pavel Buka, and it's Ender and Yuya Kubo as your attacking spring, and it's like, okay, this can't be the case. One of the three has to be there. And I think the most dangerous moments is when you saw one of the three there. I mean, you saw Brent. I mean, obviously we have the Brenner and the Denke chance. And then obviously the Denke goal was, oh, Ender swings a ball in across, and oh, there's three guys there. A third guy is there to receive the next pass, and it's Denke, and he taps in the goal, and we go home a winner. So I think there needs to be that communication between the three of them still of, hey, I'm going to see him checking back so I can go forward. And I think that triangle needs to figure that out for the rest of game 2 going forward in the playoffs.
Yeah, fully agree there, Josh, on that one. I want to transition us a little bit to talking about how Columbus played, caused some trouble for Cincinnati's backline. But before we do that, because we've crossed the 400 mark of live viewers, we do want to thank our sponsors tonight. Apollo Home being the first. Apollo wants to remind you that during this weird in-between season of it's not summer, but it still kind of feels like it, now's the perfect time to get your HVAC system checked out before the cold winter weather is here. They're bringing back the $29 coupon for CST listeners for your preseason furnace tune-up. And as always, keep them in mind for any electrical or plumbing need. Give them a call, send them a text, or schedule online at apollohome.com. And our other sponsor of our Monday Night Live show and all of our shows is Beyond Exercise. They're a local physical therapy and fitness business that helps people stay active and injury-free. They've helped some of our local MLS Next Pro, and FCC Academy players with their health and performance needs. Check out their suite of services at gobeyondexercise.com. Thanks to our sponsors for everything you do for our show and supporting the soccer community in Cincinnati. And those of you who support us on Patreon too, thanks for all that you do there. We've got some great content. All of our content actually is released over on Patreon on a weekly basis, and some additional content there. Some other things you get by supporting us on Patreon. Visit Cincinnati Soccer Talk. I almost forgot the link there. CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support, and you can join us on Patreon for all the additional content there. Now, Coach, we didn't really cue you up well for this. Like, it was like 30 seconds ago, but I know it's something that's been on your mind, this talking tactics sort of segment about Diego Rossi. When I saw that he was starting as the striker, like the lone striker in their formation, according to what they put on television, right? Threw me a little bit because I'm not used to seeing him play as a lone striker, and he really didn't tonight. He played more as a false 9, maybe a second 10. He played deep, and it caused Cincinnati's back line, I think, at times some issues. Talk about what we saw, how he played, and what Columbus was able to do to cause some havoc back there.
Yeah, the whole goal when you play with a false 9 is to have your player who's playing in the 9 position to go press up against the center backs, make sure they are the ones marking you, and then drop back into midfield, and then force that center back to make decision. Do I follow this player into midfield and continue to mark him, or do I try to pass him on to a midfielder who has other players that they're already marking or pressing, those sorts of things, right? And that was really the only threat that it felt to me like Columbus possessed, is there were a couple times when Miles Robinson in particular would get caught chasing Rossi, and then Lapalainen or one of the other guys would dart in behind, and they would look for that ball over the top because Hadeb and Hagland are not exactly fleet of foot. So when you're playing against a false 9, your communication has to be excellent. And if the fastest player in your back line there, Miles Robinson, goes chasing into midfield, those other 2 center backs have to drop towards the goal and pinch towards the middle, and all of a sudden go from playing like 3 center backs to playing like there are 2 center backs. That way they don't get beaten behind. And so those 2 guys have to communicate with each other as well as Robinson. And so it just creates moving pieces. And this is what we see Nancy do. This is why people talk about him being a tactical magician, even though I don't think he is. I think it's actually a pretty simple game plan, really effective. I think he's a great coach, but I just don't think it's magic. I think it's pretty simple. Like, hey, try to get Miles Robinson to chase you out of there, and then run guys into the space that he vacates and hope that FCC doesn't communicate their way into plugging those gaps, right? And that is what I would be talking about all week if I was Pat Noonan and Kenny Arena and co, because that looked to me like the only avenue Columbus really had into creating problems for FCC.
Is that something you think they'll see again in Columbus, or will they make some adjustments there, or like double down on that style with Rossi playing that false 9?
I think whether it's a false 9 or whether Rossi is out there as a 10, I think that's how they play. What they do differently if Rossi is playing a 10 is they just have Russell Rowe occupy one center back, and they have Rossi do the same exact thing. Go try to occupy the other one, get him to chase, run a winger or a wing back into that spot. It's a really common tactic when you can throw a lot of bodies forward like Columbus likes to do. They try to hold the ball. They're not a great defensive team. Their good defensive numbers come from their ability to keep the ball and force other teams to attack, like you saw a couple times where it was basically just Ender running and Kubo running and all the strikers were back in the midfield, right? That's why their defensive numbers are so good. So I do think that absolutely, whether Rossi is out there as the 9, the false 9, or whether he's playing alongside a Jason Russell Rowe or somebody, that communication and marking that player after he floats high and then drops in is absolutely key to beating Columbus Crew.
Yeah.
Were any of you, real quick, were any of you guys as surprised as I was that Daniel Gazdag was like came off the bench so late for them? Like I know he was kind of their like, hey, we you know, our budget's a little limited, we can go out and get a striker, but like Daniel Gazdag is no scrub in this league. Like he's scored a lot, and obviously he's struggled in Columbus so far this season. But I thought when I saw that lineup, I was like, wait, did I miss that? Like Daniel Gazdag coming back from injury too? Like Rossi was the one that was hurt, and like I just I was surprised to see. So like I'm thinking like maybe is that the switch that gets made where it's like you put a legit striker, successful striker in this league in that lineup? Like I was just a little bit taken aback by that.
That's exactly what I was going to say. With Gazdag being that late off the bench, I imagine I picture him starting next week in Columbus because of his do what we've seen him do against Cincinnati when he's with Philadelphia and all that. So Justin, I mean to steal your thoughts, man, but wanted to jump in there. Go ahead.
No worries. Either way, Columbus has to win game 2. So I'm sure Nancy rolled the dice there and kept Gazdag and Russell Rowe on the bench tonight. And it seemed to work for them for 70 minutes, but then the FC Cincinnati being able to bag the goal, that's it. So but I fully expect them to both have more minutes in the match up in Columbus.
Yeah. Well, guys, we could go on and on. We're just past an hour. I wasn't sure if we'd get to an hour tonight, but we have lots to still talk about if we wanted to. We had in the chat, can we show some love to Alvis Powell? We did that a little bit earlier for sure, but let's just remind everybody that goal doesn't happen if Alvis Powell doesn't bust his butt to get to the back post. What a great run. What a great assist that he had there to Kevin Denke in the 78th minute to win this game. Lots of love to Alvis Powell tonight early in the show. So thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us. One of the things, Cincinnati's going up to Columbus November 2nd. Game's at 6:30 on Sunday. It's going to be a totally different atmosphere. One of the things we have not talked about that game yet is whether or not we're going to see someone like Matt Miazga returning late in the playoff game or get some minutes to work his way in. I don't know that we change much with the back line. But that's something we can speculate on next week on our show to see what they do and how they play it. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to, unless you guys really are dying to get into your final thoughts, I think we've said a lot. We could go on 15 more minutes with these final thoughts, but Josh, he's got one, it sounds like. So Josh, close us out, man.
Like, I want to iterate this of like, listen, this is an incredible game, huge win. Enjoy this. But I always come back to like, this is the Kobe Bryant mindset that you got to have, the Mamba mentality. Job's not finished, right? Like this is an incredible win. This checked off so many boxes and got so many like uplifted everything of like, hey, you can't beat Columbus. You're not a good XG team. You can't keep winning one goal. They erased all of the talking points, right? They blew every single talking point out of the water today. But enjoy it tonight. Job's not finished, right? Tomorrow, flip the script, move on, turn the page, focus on Sunday, get the job. One game at a time is all you need it. But just remember, job's not done. That's all I'll say.
All right. Josh, thanks, man, for that final thought, closing us out tonight in this episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We look forward to talking to you next week after hopefully, fingers crossed, Cincinnati comes away with the win on Sunday night in Columbus. We'll see you then. Thanks for joining us here on Cincinnati Soccer Talk.